Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Shannon. My name is Chris Rochester. I live in Rochester, New York. I'm an innocent man. I'm going to show you a document with the name and the salary of a corrupt cop. This is the payroll of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Shannon and Meyer, $83,291.42. I've sent you documentation about this freak you employ, Todd Baxter, repeatedly, including this. You've received this more than 20 times. Because every time I use registered mail return receipt, and if receipts come back to me, this is not you, Todd Baxter, but you're in here about 15 times. I send a document. And I also use UPS. This is you when I'm contacting the United States Department of Justice in both of these piles here for UPS and the United States Postal Service. This is the accusatory instrument for warrant for my arrest written by Shannon Meyer for a parking lot I've walked through 4,000 plus times. Do you understand the insanity of what I just said, you Benito Mussolini skinhead? You gave her a $16,000 raise because you're corrupt. That's why. That's the answer. Shannon and Meyer went from $67,000 to $83,000 because you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, are corrupt and you embrace corruption. Warrant for my arrest. I took every sentence here of this lie. Where it says, the first sentence, she should have been fired immediately when you received this document. And she wasn't, because you're corrupt. Quote, on the above date, approximately 1440 hours, HRS, I responded to the above location for the report of a male trespassing. There's two of my neighbors walking through that park, and I photograph after photograph that I've shown previously and sent to your office. This is why she's a freak. This is why she's corrupt. This is why you embrace corrupt cops that are freaks, Todd Baxter. And you, Todd Baxter, are a corrupt cop who's a freak. It's not a crime to walk to that park lot. Do you know how she sets me up? She contacts a man named Steve Desmond of Brock Tree Lawn Care, and she says, ride your tractor by the residence at 26 Sanders Farm Drive and get this Chris Rochester to come out of the residence. If he does, we're going to arrest him. The problem with that, Todd Baxter, it's not a crime for me to walk outside and tell Steve Desmond nobody owns the land. Next to my residence, walk back in my residence. I'm going to tell you how to concoct the crime for me, Todd. When I'm not home, you break into my former residence, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, and you put a dead prostitute in my bed. That's how you concoct the crime for me. That's the way to do it. So, you've received this. Quote, upon my arrival, I spoke with V. Shah. As I've said repeatedly, how is he a V? Who stated that HHS was on his property again today, even though he's been informed that he's allowed to be there. I'm not informed about anything. It's lie after lie in here. I'm not going to go through this again because I have done that previously. So in your office, you Benito Mussolini skinhead, you pathetic diva, you receive this. This is on its way. And when I say it's on its way, I think I have the most recent yes. So this says expected delivery date, February 15th, because this date is February 14th. So you have this. This should have arrived. It's tracked. I have not checked to see if it arrived, but it gets there all the time. So this will get there. And it says here, Todd Baxter, Sheriff 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604, San Diego, District Attorney 47 South Fitzhugh Street, Rochester, New York, 14604, resign. I'm not trying to be dramatic or engage in hyperbole. You need to resign because you're corrupt. Because you're violating the civil and constitutional rights of innocent citizens. It's that simple. YouTube zealous, District Attorney Sandra Dory, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Judge Alex Renzi. Who forced me into Alex Renzi? Who's the assigned prosecutor for my appearance for Alex Renzi? Perry Duckles. Tell me the answer. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. And you will refuse. Misconduct, Chief of the Grand Jury Bureau, Michelle Crowley. How am I died when you don't call me to the grand jury? It's as simple as that. I've had multiple questions for you about how many grand jurors are there? Does it take a majority vote? Who testified before the grand jury? And most importantly, why did you call me, you nauseating, disgusting hack, Michelle Crowley, to testify for the grand jury? You don't even have an interview with me because you don't know anything. You want to exist in stone cold ignorance while you're obliterating me with 18 to 24 anonymous idiots that you know are idiots, that you want to be idiots because you want to indict me. This district attorney's office is just like the mafia in New York City in the 1970s and 1980s. Because as I'm from Long Island, I would see reports on Channel 2, 4, and 7, New York City news stations about the mafia all the time. And when I think about your repulsive shack district attorney's office, I think about the mafia in New York City. Fleece Sheriff Todd Baxter sends $155,000 Corey Brown and $163,000 Michael Fowler to Saratoga. How's that answer to the control of the state of New York? Thomas B. DiNapoli when I contact him. If you're audited, Todd Baxter, an audit could force your resignation. I'm less confident about that fact for you, Sandra Doyle, because the district attorney's office is so much smaller. And since your district attorney's office is so much smaller, you have fewer criminals at your district attorney's office than Todd Baxter. When I say criminals, it's not hyperbole. A prosecutor doesn't talk to courts, a citizen delivered to jail is a criminal. A Monroe County Sheriff's Office with taxing an citizen like me, the Penfield Public Library by Richard J. Seatman, is a criminal. And it doesn't matter to you, Todd Baxter, that you're a disgusting, repulsive hack, Richard J. Seatman attacked me. I'm going to explain why when I read this document, just the title. So YouTube is conduct on Chief of Grand Jury Bureau Michelle Crowley Adams. Michelle Crowley, contact me. But the facts and circumstances of you convening the grand jury while I'm not called as a witness. Is there a transcript to it? There should be. Please, Todd Baxter, this is again on Corey Brown and Michael Fowler. You got that? And I email it to you too. I'll show you the emails here. This is you, Michelle Crowley, convening the grand jury that I call misconduct. That's the perfect word for you here. You have it. Everybody at the district attorney's office has it. I only use this email once because I know it's not blocked. A new email can't be blocked. You can block me afterwards. This came to your office, arrived by either UPS or registered mail return receipt, and I mailed it to you. Tell me the facts and circumstances of that grand jury, Michelle Crowley, and answer my questions about the grand jury. This is February 9th here, called Silence of Violence, because the silence of the district attorney's office is delivering me to jail, and the violence of the sheriff's office is emerging upon me at Penfield Public Library and at Wegmans, where I've been attacked at both the public places. So letter Robert J. Valente at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs is helping me move because I have to leave Rochester because you'll just show up and arrest me. One of you disgusting, sickening cretins at the district attorney's office will just concoct some kind of fiction for me. The arrest will be out there, and then I'll be stalked again to a public institution in Rochester or just followed on the street by Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicles. You arrest me wherever I am because that's happened to me repeatedly. Because you're psychopaths at the sheriff's office, district attorney's office. You don't recognize that citizens have civil and constitutional rights. Because you're gangsters and criminals and thugs and sociopaths. That's why. And here's my communication to you gangsters and thugs and criminals and sociopaths on February 5th, 2023, where it's called information. It's just simple. Well, I'm demanding names of our prosecutors. That's why it's called information. And this is 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, and you refused. This is for Regina Harper and Mark Phillips of the public defender's office. My own public defenders will not tell me the names of these prosecutors that are putting the screws to me in silence. Psychopaths Inc. That's what I believe you are, and you definitely are. This again is February 2nd, where I have a link here to my girlfriend Laura Riley. In this email is another communication on you that I just made 60 minutes ago to my girlfriend Laura Riley, where I'm telling her to disclose to me the facts and circumstances of my illegal eviction because all my things were taken to a storage locker in Webster by her, and she refused to tell me what happened. And you know why that happened? Because I was in jail and I didn't know this was going on. I did not know my ex-girlfriend went into my residence where we used to live and took all my things to a storage locker. I didn't know that was happening. What would you think if you showed up to your house at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the doors were locked, you were locked out, and you had to sleep in a park for 3 weeks? Do you think a crime's been committed? Because the answer to that question is yes. February 1, this is Lisa Gray, who I believe is a special counsel to this attorney, where I'm talking to you here, Perry Duckles, perjurer Michael C. Houlihan, and violence. This is Richard J. Seatman. He attacked me at the Penfield Public Library. He should be fired immediately. This is January 26, fanaticism, perjurer, violence, rejection, accountability. You have all these. It's an email to my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley. You can see me read that on the link that's attached in this email. It's the perfect description of you on January 24th. You, Todd Baxter, you, Sandra Doyle, you're freaks. That's the first sentence there. Fanaticism, perjurer on Michael Houlihan, violence. Do you, Michelle Crowley, know what I'm talking about when I say Michael Houlihan perjured himself to your grand jury? You should. More information here on January 24th because I come to YouTube like I am now, and then tomorrow I'm going to take this link and I'm going to print it out on a sheet like this. I'm going to send it to you. You're going to sign for it. Again, you refuse to comply with all the information. The information, I'm not using the Freedom of Information Law now. I'm telling you tonight, I'm demanding you disclose the names of my prosecutors. In the next 48 hours, I'm going to fill out the Freedom of Information Law and send it to your offices, where I'm again forcing you to disclose the names of my prosecutors, and you again refuse. How am I in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? How am I just 6 times a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? So, I had that there on January 24th, January 18th. Again, what do you think I'm demanding of you? The names of my prosecutors' silence. This is called rejection and accountability. I've said that over and over. This is the surveillance device that you're not saying anything about. That's it right there. I was on it over and over. Regina Harper, the public defender's office, sent me the links. Is this private technology, Benito Mussolini skinhead, Todd Baxter? Or is this a camera you bought and fixed to meet a 2025 Penfield Road for a business called Consumer Insights? I sent that to the United States Department of Justice in the person of the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, Trinity Ross. This is January 14th to Janice McNair. And Janice McNair is refusing to open his mouth for me because this came back. The Office of Public Integrity, this is right here, right up here, Director of Public Integrity. Well, I'm telling Janice McNair, I'm going to jail where prosecutors doesn't talk in court. I'm being violently attacked by Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees. And here's Janice McNair, former employee of the Sheriff's Office, turning my mail, and he should be fired immediately. And I went with the most basic word here, which is corrupt, on January 14th for you. January 11th, rejection accountability here. Refuse to comply over and over. January 5th, again, demanding the names by prosecutor's silence. Mailing information I demand the address below in Rochester. This includes the names on prosecutor's silence. Here are up here, all your emails from the Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office. And right here, Perry Duckles on January 1, 6 weeks ago. I'm telling you in the most clear, easily understandable language possible to what? Disclose the names of my prosecutors. Tell this pathetic accumulation of health afflictions and sending information to my UPS address listed below. It includes the names of my prosecutors to silence. Who's the pathetic accumulation of health afflictions? Perry Duckles. It's District Attorney Sandra Dorley. Does District Attorney Sandra Dorley go into the District Attorney's office and work a standard 40-hour work week, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? You know the answer, Perry Duckles. Does she work from home in Webster, or is she behind her desk in the office? Every single assistant district attorney knows the answer to that question. I don't know the answer. Tell me what the answer is. That's not the internal operations of the district attorney's office. It's a simple question. Does the district attorney of Monroe County, the single most powerful person in Monroe County with more power than Todd Baxter, go into the office for a standard 40-hour work week? Or is she in a coma at home in Webster because of her health? So, December 22nd, 2 months ago, that's a 67-page Freedom of Information Law document that arrived in your office. You refused to comply with every single one. And on November 28th, 3 more links, corruptible, delusion, and zero. It's called zero because you aren't going to comply with any of the Freedom of Information Law documents. 60-plus documents then. You refused over and over. You're refusing to disclose information to me. I went to Lollipop Farm Humane Society in 2012. My ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, we adopted, as I call him, my little guy. And we were asked, have you ever been arrested? And Laura and I both replied, no. I've talked about this over and over. I'm going to soon contact Lollipop Farm Humane Society about you, Todd Baxter, with Psychopaths Incorporated, coming to my residence to demand my little guy. The lunatic fringe. The sickness of you. This is why people hate the police. I've talked about him over and over. Do you know the telephone exists? This invention by Alexander Graham Bell. And this invention by Alexander Graham Bell is that when a woman at the Shah law firm, where Neeraj Shah, a 50-year-old man, lives with his 70-year-old mother, Layla Kumar Shah, when they pick up the phone and demand that you come to my house and seize my dog, even though I'm just walking my dog the same way for 7 years and 4,000 times, one of your fellow psychopaths at the sheriff's office can pick up this invention by Alexander Graham Bell and call me instead of coming to my house and demanding my dog. This is what happens to a police officer when they've been on the job for too long, because they're consumed with power and control. And when a police officer is consumed with power and control, that police officer is a fanatic. My neighbor watched this happen to me too. I think he said language like, I've never seen a police happen before. I've never seen anything like this. This is a vicious confrontation at my front door, where 2 employees are demanding my dog with the individual from Penfield Animal Control. Haven't contacted them yet, but I will, and I have their names at Penfield Animal Control. Because when I went into Penfield Town Court, just to be declared guilty by Paul C. Metzer and John P. Lomenzo Jr. and driven to jail while prosecuted in dog court, Steve Schicker, the Penfield Animal Control officer, had to go into my residence the first time. He's been in there twice, and get my little guy and bring him back to Lollipop Farm, the Main Side. I'm going to contact Lollipop Farm Main Side what you've done to me. I believe that when I go into facts and circumstances in detail about what you've done to me, just with my little guy alone, I think it's going to be rare air for them. They're going to say to me, what's the effect? We've never heard any story like this before. And how does the sheriff behave like that? And the sheriff behaves like that because the sheriff's corrupt. The sheriff's a fanatic. So on January 10th, over and over and over, I'm demanding information from you, and you're refusing. And this is the day again, January 10th. If I repeat things, corruption requires repetition. Documentation for the case of Christopher Child just before John P. Lomenzo Jr. and Penfield Town Court. What is that? The prosecutor saying, Jolie, is that Julie Hahn, who's now in Monroe County Court? I don't know. You do. You know the names of the prosecutors assigned to my court appearance, so who is it? Total silence as I'm delivered to jail. Documentation for the case of Christopher Child just before Paul C. Metzer, Penfield Town Court. What is that? The prosecutor saying, Jolie, this is the extremist of Regina Harper of the Monroe County Public Defender said to be, quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. In total silence. What's this extremist saying? And then one of you extremists at the district attorney's office elevated me to the supervising judge in New York State Supreme Court. He's just not any hack over there. I'm in front of the hack who's in there with 24% of the vote. Not even close to a majority to be on a court. Quote, documentation for the case of Christopher Child, New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi was the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Dorley. The name of the prosecutor. That's the extremist that forced me into Alex Renzi. Where this extremist knows, no dialogue has to occur. No language has to be spoken in court for me to be delivered to jail. Alex Renzi knows the prosecutor doesn't have to talk. The prosecutor knows the prosecutor doesn't have to talk. How's that happen to any citizen when a prosecutor doesn't talk and the citizen is delivered to jail? Perry Duckles in the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. What's the answer? So, over and over and over. So, the corruption of you at the attorney's office and sheriff's office is something I never thought that I would experience in my life. And it is absolutely revolting because you're absolutely revolting, where you're just refusing over and over to tell me who's doing this to me at the district attorney's office and sheriff's office. And who's doing this to me is right here. Second name on salaries at the district attorney's office, Sandra Dorley, $210,900. Did you give yourself a $7,000 raise? Because you were paid $203,000. Did you decide, District Attorney Sandra Dorley, did you sign paperwork documentation to give yourself a $7,000 raise? Or is that in statute and that's an automatic cost of living adjustment or something similar to a cost of living adjustment? Did you give yourself your own raise, Sandra Dorley, or is it an automatic raise? And what's the answer? And when I demand you be audited, when I contact Controller Thomas P. DiNapoli in Albany, this is one of the questions, in a series of questions, I'm going to tell him to ask you. So here we have on this payroll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 employees paid $100,000 or more. That's not the gold standard salary. It used to be, but that's a lot of money. And Perry Duckles, you paid $144,000 to refuse to disclose the names of my prosecutors in a public proceeding. Why? Perry Duckles, contact me, 620 Park Avenue, PMB, number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604, and tell me the names of my prosecutors to silence. So, I will soon contact the United States Attorney for the West District of New York, Trinity Ross, and tell her what has happened to me. And what has happened to me is the absolute sick lunatic fringe that I never thought that I would experience in my life. And it really is sickening and nauseating to have to even say your names. And I do get nauseous. And I can feel it overcoming me when I have to say your names at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office because you're extremists and you'll never know that you're extremists. So over and over, I'm demanding information from you, and over you're refusing to provide it to me. The lunatic fringe, I'm on this thing over and over. That's a surveillance device. Todd Baxter, how many times do I have to demand of you, if this is private technology on a business called Consumer Insights at 2025 Pempy Road, or if you bought it and have fixed it for me? And I'm going to soon contact United States Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, of the United States Department of Justice. And I'm going to tell the distinguished Americans that I don't have civil and constitutional rights in the state of New York. I'm going to tell Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Department of Justice, Kristen Clark, what has happened to me. And I used to ride my bike by the Department of Justice because I worked in Washington, D.C. for 5 years as a House and Senate staffer. And I never thought, when I was riding my bike by the most powerful institution in the United States of America, that I'd one day be contacting it. So, Todd Baxter, you owe me $61.39, and I've sent this to you in the Freedom of Information Law because this is the money I had in my pocket when Richard J. Sieben walked into Penn for Public Library and violently attacked me. Cut me that check, Todd Baxter. This is an expired check. And you received that documentation repeatedly from me. Mark Phillips, our public defender, is refusing to disclose the names of my prosecutors. And Mark Phillips, again, is refusing to disclose the names of my prosecutors. And Gregina Harper, also at the public defender's office, is refusing to disclose the names of my prosecutors. And Gregina Harper, again, at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, refused to disclose the names of my prosecutors. So here we have Janice McNair, again, the Director of Public Integrity, who has no integrity, former employee of the Sheriff's Office, returning my mail. And here's Janice McNair again, where I'm telling him I'm being violently attacked by Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees. I'm being delivered to jail in total silence by extremists at the District Attorney's Office. And here's Janice McNair again, returning my mail from me. So over and over, I'm demanding this information from you, and the destruction of my life began with this nauseating, disgusting, sickening hack who should be fired immediately, Shannon and Meyer, that you gave a $16,000 raise to. A warrant for my arrest for parking lot I've walked through 4,000 times. Am I New York's 4,000-time criminal, Todd Baxter? The answer is no, but the answer from you has to be yes. You obliterated me with this 6-year degenerate, Shannon M. Meyer, at the sheriff's office. And if she's done this to me, she's done this to other citizens. And what has she done? She's violated the civil and constitutional rights. For as long as Shannon M. Meyer is at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, she will violate the civil and constitutional rights of innocent citizens. And that doesn't matter to you at all, Sheriff Todd Baxter, because you're corrupt. My name is Chris Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have never committed a crime.